What's going on, everybody? Voidlego here, back with a brand new episode of Umineko When They Cry. Last time on, we got backstory, all about Kinzo and how he met Beatrice all those years ago back in 1945, or 44, whatever the year, during World War II, basically. To make a long story short, he was stationed on Wokinjima due to it being a top secret submarine base that was really never used at all since the Japanese government did not have any submarines left. But eventually, one day, an Italian submarine came in for repairs due to their ship being destroyed and whatnot. And then that mysterious, beautiful woman, Beatrice, some Italian last name I completely forgot about, came out of that simple submarine, and, well, ever since Kinzo saw her, he began to finally live. Over 20 years of being nothing more than a corpse walking around, he finally knew how to truly live as a person. To make a long story short, what they were transporting on that Italian submarine was actually the quote-unquote Golden Witch's gold, aka some Italian gold that the government was, sending out in order to hide it for later use before, Mussolini was, taken out and all that, blah, blah, blah. And eventually, both the Japanese force and the Italian force decided to kill each other, all because of that simple human emotion of greed, of trying to get those 10 tons of gold. While Beatrice and Kinzo were able to make it out alive and able to go to a different island and get, help from Dr. Nanjo, which is how he met Kinzo for the first time. But yeah, it was awesome to finally get backstory on Kinzo after all this time, since Kinzo has always been kind of a mystery for us of who Kinzo truly was, because all we saw from him was this mad lunatic grandfather who dreamt of a beloved mistress he had in the past and all that. And it was very nice to finally get backstory and why he was so infatuated by this one particular woman, because that one woman was able to make him be alive, quite literally, and all that. We also heard that the original Beatrice actually died during her childbirth of the Corridoran Beatrice, actually, which we're probably going to go into more detail here in a second. But I find it all so very fascinating. Some comments of last time of someone commenting that how Bador and Kinzo are so similar, yet Bador is the most disconnected from the whole family. And yeah, it is pretty ironic, but at the same time it's kind of perfect, because like with Bador, Kinzo was completely separated from the main family. He was in a different branch family when the Kanto earthquake happened, and he was forced to take up the headship of the family. He was forced into that role and all that, even though he was completely disconnected about it. And the same thing kind of happened to Bador, especially in episode 4, you remember? Where he was forced to become the successor since he found the Epitaph's gold, right? And it's very funny how both Kinzo and Bador fell in love with the same vision of this witch, this golden witch of Beatrice, and how both of them try to, in essence, recreate her. Bador with all of his shenanigans in episode 6, with Chick Beatrice, and Kinzo with Corridoran Beatrice as well. They both try to recreate what they loved so much into another person. Quite literally, reincarnate her, because they couldn't live without her. Quite literally couldn't live without her. And it's doubly sad for Kinzo, since, in essence, he lost both his wife and his daughter. which explains the madness in the end, which we eventually see him in the main story. Well, his relationship with Corridor and Beatrice is much more. It isn't just a father-daughter relationship. It was very heavily implied, or it might as well just be outright stated that Kinzo didn't see Corridor and Beatrice as his daughter. His love was very, very much misplaced within Corridor and Beatrice. Because he saw her as a reincarnation of his wife. So, we're probably going to go into that much more in this episode, but I just wanted to comment on that. Oh yeah, there was also a thing of the confirmation of there being an explosion on Wokenjima in Erika's tip as well, which explains what happens in episode 4 with how nobody could find any bodies to put the blame on Ava in 1999, right? Or 1988, 1998, whatever. Yeah, bunch of years, so much information, and I think... Oh, one other thing, someone mentioned how, during the whole massacre on the island between the Japanese and Italian forces was very similar to the Himizawan syndrome from Higurashi, aka the breakdown of communications and the like, which made the forces turn on each other and hell, even kill their own men due to the madness of it. Which is a lot to, think about of how communication, once communication breaks down, it really drives people to violence, assuming somebody's gonna do something like, oh, the Japanese force thought the Italians were gonna take the gold first, and the Italians thought that the Japanese were gonna take the gold first, and how that pretty much led to the killing, the entire massacre between the two forces, even though they were on the same side, all because of the gold. Ryukushiyo 7 really likes to commentate on how when communication breaks down, it leads to violence. Not all the time, but it does eventually snowball into just chaos, pretty much, is the best way to describe it. Which is, I think is true. Once communications break down, it leads to assumptions. It leads to, you think of the worst case scenario. I mean, that's very much delved into greater detail in Higurashi. The whole psychological thing of, you think you're by yourself, which is, the whole message of Higurashi of, trust in your friends and all that. That's all in Higurashi. It goes so much better into detail than I want to explain right now, since you should go check that out. But anyway, what is, keep going? Oh, also, one other thing, someone mentioned of, does Will looking into the past of Beatrice remind me of anything? And the only thing I can think of right now at this moment is Chick Beatrice actually looking into her own previous past back in episode 6. Maybe it's something else, maybe I'm missing something, but that's the only thing that it can remind me of at this point, so let's get right into it.
ベアトリーチェという女性がどれほど人生の大部分を占めてきたか分かった気がします。
何も分かってなんかいねえ。ベアトリーチェを誰が殺したか、それが分からなきゃ俺たちはいつまでもここから出られない。
Now that's a good question. What Beatrice is that referring to? It can't be original Beatrice because we know she died in childbirth. It can't be Kuradorn Beatrice since she died in an accident. Or maybe it is referring to Kuradorn Beatrice. In that case, it could be you could the blame on Rosa or maybe Kinzo.
そうでしたね。早く終わらせなければ葬儀はもう終わっているのですからね。
ちげえな。葬儀なんだ。これがな。
私たちのさせられていることがですか？
これまでに聞いたどのベアトリーチェも殺されてなどいない。
Yeah.
それを俺たちが殺されたことにしようとしている。 ベルンカステルにとってはこれこそが本当の葬儀なんだ。
誰も殺されたことを知らない。それを私たちが暴こうとしている。
お前つくづく察しがいいな。仮想の駒と話してるとは思えん。俺のワトソン役として与えられた駒だからか。いって
相棒を駒呼ばわりとは失礼な方です。さあ次は何を？ウィラード・ホームズ。
捜査の基本は聞き込みだろ。まだ聞くべきベアトリーチは残っている。
But what Beatrice would that be referring to? To indicate whom they should talk to next, Will nodded in the direction of George, Jessica, and Maria. Maria seemed to be lecturing the others about something.
へえ、すごいんだね、ベアトリーチは。
伏せたカップの中にね、魔法でキャンディーをいっぱい生み出してくれたの。
伏せたカップの中に？
I wonder what Killed is referring to. Because I'm not going to think it's in the, like, general term of Killed, since this is Umineko. We got to think about this in a little bit more abstract way, right? I feel like what Burncastle is trying to make us do, because she said this at the end of episode 6, of she wants to reveal all the truths. That's what Featherwing wants as well. She wants to look at this from an objective view, from the view of truth. No fantasy, no bullshit. I feel like what we're going to get to of who killed Beatrice is revealing the entire truth of Beatrice, of who she was as a person. Basically, removing all the mystery aspect from her character. Basically reveal her entire backstory, reveal who she was as a person. By revealing all of that, we're in essence killing the Golden Witch, because once we find out the entire truth of both Beatrices, there's no mystery left. There's no, like, Golden Witch. In essence, we've already figured out the first part, the first Beatrice. She was merely an Italian daughter of a high-ranking official who was carrying cargo of gold. There's already part of the mystery gone, you know? I feel like that's what's going to be maybe the major twist at the end of this, of, in essence, what we're doing right now of Will investigating who killed Beatrice. It's going to be like, I don't know, you're the one who killed Beatrice because you revealed the entire story of her. You removed all of the mystery aspect from her character. Or something like that. Maybe I'm thinking way too abstractly, or hell, maybe I'm right on the fucking money. But you know, this is Umineko. You gotta think abstractly here.
そりゃすげえぜ。確かに魔法だ。マリアちゃんは魔女とか魔法とかそういうものが大好きですから。
魔女の権威に話を聞かないわけにはいかねえな。
When looking for someone to ask about Beatrice, Maria rose to the top of the list. The Beatrice she spoke of wasn't the real Beatrice, the one Kinzo and the others had talked about. However, here and now, in the Woken Gem of 1986, the name Beatrice probably refers to the person Maria's always talking about.
バトラの姿が見えないな。
Ushiro Mira battle. The one who was forced to fight as Beatrice's opponent in many games, is the most important person in this game, this tale. A battler in this world would probably be the peace version, but even so, it should be possible to get some vital information out of him. Will probably wanted to talk with Battler too, but he was nowhere to be seen in the Cousins group. Interesting.
バトラ君は今回の葬儀には欠席しています。最も年の近いいとことして残念です。
Really?
仲はいいのか？
ええ、もちろん。
バトラが何かスケベな出現をするたびに尻をつねってるんだろ。
おや、よくご存知で。推理は可能でしたか？
バトラに同情する。
Barncastle said that everything we needed was gathered here. Since Battle isn't here, that probably means it's possible to find out everything without asking for his side of the story. Or maybe she's intentionally hiding the core elements and making us take the long way around, as part of some fickle witch's game.
いねえってことは、とりあえず今は奴の話を聞く必要はねえってことだろ
I gotta save that for the end.
う。マリアたちに話を聞こう。スケベな話はしねえからな。尻をつねるんじゃねえぞ。
ならほんの少し言葉を選ぶだけでいいのに。
With a roguish smile, Leon pinched the air, index finger against middle.
おや、次期当主様だぜ。クソじじいの介護はもういいのかよ。
At least Leon was impartial. No mercy, even for Jessica. We well felt a bit gratified.
そうか。クラウスの子で次期当主ということは、ジェシカは妹に当たるんだな。
He was so used to Jessica being an only child that, though the scuffle between the two looked perfectly natural, something didn't feel quite right about it.
ジェシカ、もう少し妹らしい言葉遣いはできないのかい？ついでに言うと、もう少し年頃の女性らしい言葉遣いにも気をつけてみるべきだね。あと、次期当主様なんて呼び方は嫌いだっていつも言ってるよ。
うせえぜ。私は私らしく生きちゃら。次期当主様みてえにお上品に生きてたら息が詰まっちまわ。やめて、つねんないで。妹いじめ、変態、反対、痛い痛い。
ジェシカ、お客様もいらしているというのに、どうまた母さんに言いつけられたいかな
Goofy ass sound effects.
仲睦まじいな。
リオンは次期当主として火の打ちどころのない素晴らしい人だからね。ま、素晴らしすぎてジェシカちゃんの気持ちもちょっぴりわかるかな。
I have to find an interesting parallel to this. Is Jessica is a lot more like Klaus. You know, even though she is blood related to Kinzo, she is still very much not successor material. She's just not that kind of person. Kind of like with Klaus. He is not the greatest person to be the successor, to be the next head. But it's very much different with Natsui and Leon, who I'm still suspecting Leon is the man from 19 years ago, but in this timeline was raised by Natsui. Even though those two are completely unconnected from the family, they're the most, you know, upholding of the honor of the Ushiro Mira family. It's just a very interesting parallel to make.
何をしても比較される。だからグレルと。
もしジェシカちゃんが一人っ子として生まれてたら、きっと落ち着きのある真相の令嬢になってたと思う。
Definitely.
それは面白い想像だね。
安心しろ。あの性格は一人っ子でも変わらねえ。
庄司お兄ちゃん、この人誰？
あなたとは初対面ですよね。でも後ろ宮家にはお詳しそうだ。
Yeah, I've been reading about you for past like 150 hours.
僕はジョージ。彼女はマリア。よろしく。
ウィルダ。ベアトリーチについて調べている。知っていることを聞かせてほしい。
ベアトリーチェ？ほらね、ベアトリーチェはいるの。
Though Maria had looked hostile towards this unfamiliar man, as soon as she heard the name of the witch she loved pass his lips, her eyes began to sparkle.
ほら、マリアちゃん。お客様にちゃんとご挨拶をしないと。
こんにちは。後ろ宮マリアと申します。ベアトリーチェを知ってる人がいて嬉しい。 握手を。
Maria suddenly stuck out her small hand, and Will reached out for it reflexively. As soon as he did, he felt a bright light seeping out from the gap between their hands. The Frida-going power that Benkaz had given him had affected Maria.
ベアトリーチェはね、ロッケン島の魔女なの。いつもね、マリアがロッケン島に来るたびに一緒に遊んでくれるの。マリアのね、一番のお友達で、マリアージュ・ソルシエールの仲間なの。
The light grew brighter and brighter. This time, he could feel himself being drawn to Maria's world. Here we go. Let's see. Hi, Mushiro, Mira, Maria. My mama's Rosa. My papa? I don't have a papa. I think I remember Mama showing me a picture long ago and saying, "This is your papa." It was a picture of a man with a dark suntan on a beach wearing a swimsuit. Later on, when I learned what papa meant, I asked Mama to show me that picture again, but she said it didn't exist. But it had to have existed. When I drew a picture of it and showed it to Mama, she got really mad and said it didn't exist, or that if it did, she had already thrown it away. Ever since then, she kept saying that I didn't have a papa.
知ってる？パパとママがいないと赤ちゃんができないって言われてるけど、それは嘘なんだよ。
少女解体か。
ミヨ、乙女が身ごもって男の子を産むであろう。その名はインマヌエルなり。マリアはもし男の子に生まれていたなら、それが名前だったかもしれない。
Emmanuel, huh?
マタイ伝1章20節。
違うよ、23節。20節はかくてこれらを思い巡らすとき、御使いが夢に現れていった。ダビデの子ヨセフよ、妻マリアを迎えることを恐れるな。その腹に宿るものは精霊によるものなり。
お前の父親は精霊だというわけだ。
パパがいるのが当たり前だとみんなに言われた。パパがいないなんておかしい、変な子だ、かわいそうな子だと言われた。でもママに聞いてもパパなんていない、知らない、存在しないと言われた。聞くだけで怒られて叩かれた。
Damn.
だからマリアは自分が誰から生まれたかよくわからなくなった。マリアは人間として正しくない、未熟で不正な存在。みんなとは違う、おかしな、かわいそうな子だと気がついた。
親も他人も関係ねえ。お前はお前だ。
それを未熟な幼児に教えるのはきっと難しかったろうね。ひょっとしたら幼稚園の先生はいじめられて泣く私にそう諭してくれたのかもしれない。でもそんな慰めでは私の心の空白、疑問、どんな言葉も私の疑問に答えてはくれなかった。
Questions, huh?
その疑問に答えたのはザ・ブックだ。
神父様がね、来たの。
It was probably part of some lesson to enrich the minds of children through an edifying tale. To most of the children, it was just an ordinary fairy tale that they might have heard from one of their teachers. Actually, I think we were just bored because it was too hard to grasp. Then at the end, the priest said something important.
神は何でも知っているか。
だからマリアは聞いた。マリアにはママしかいない。パパはない。パパがなくてもマリアはママから生まれてきた。それはおかしくて悲しいことなのって。
The priest taught me there's nothing strange about a child having no papa. After all, Jesus Christ was born of a virgin, and the one who gave birth to him was the Virgin Maria. I was surprised. Maria, the name I was given, had been showing me the answer all along.
だからマリアはびっくりして神父様に聞き直したの。聖母マリアは一人で赤ちゃんが産めたんだって。
Was it really Virgin Maria? I've always heard it was just Virgin Mary, but maybe that's like the original like Latin translations. Because there's obviously multiple translations of the Bible, so I guess one of them would be Maria instead of Mary.
じゃあマリアも一人で赤ちゃんが産めるのって。
神父は何と答え
聖母マリアが赤ちゃんを身ごもれたのは聖霊のおかげだからって。マタイ伝1節20章講談。その腹に宿るものは聖霊によるものなり。またマリアはびっくりした。これはどういうことだと思う？
お前はこう解釈した。後ろ宮マリアには人間の父はいない。本当の父は聖霊だと。
Regardless of the Bible's original meaning, this young, sad girl whose lack of a father had caused her to lose her sense of identity had finally created a way to understand herself.
それを知ったとき、私はなぜ他の子たちと自分だけが違うのかを理解したの。
I mean, hell, isn't religion's, kind of one of their purposes is to make sense of life? Like, people use, holy texts, like the Bible, the Quran, the whatever holy text, right? To make sense of their life, to make sense of reality. That's why some people turn to religion, right? So it's quite very interesting to see that in Maria, who's very much the person with the most faith within the family. She has the most faith and trust to believe in the supernatural. Within that context, it makes a lot more sense why she would want to believe in witches and all that.
私をバカにするみんなはヨセフの子。でも私だけは違った。私はみんなより劣ってなんかいない。私は神の子、精霊の子だった。帰ってママに話したよ。マリアにはパパなんていない。ママはママで、マリアは神様の力で生まれてきたんだよって。
It was probably painful for Rosa when Maria asked about her father. Why did Maria have no papa when everyone else had a papa and a mama? Every time she was asked this, Rosa flew into a rage and changed the subject. Then, for some reason, and all on her own, Maria had found an answer that satisfied her. She had no papa. She was the child of Mama and God. It isn't too difficult to imagine that Rosa, after hearing this young girl's explanation, might go along with it as though it were true.
ベアトは宇宙を生み出す最小の人数を2人だと言った。私はこれを両親がいないと子はなせないという意味だと感じた。その時、私は思ったの。ベアトは魔女だけれど、人間から生まれた魔女なんだって。ベアトは精霊の子じゃない。でも私は違う。ママだけから生まれた。精霊から生まれた。ベアトは私と一緒じゃなきゃ宇宙を作れない。でも私は、神は我らと共にある。私一人でも精霊と共に宇宙が作れる。ベアトは私を原初の魔女と呼んだ。そしてやがては一人で全てを生み出せる造物主になれるよと言ってくれた。
Anything alone, huh?
私が一人で無から有を創造する。
I guess that's what a creator is. The final thing. And I guess that's why Berncastle on a Delta afraid of becoming that is because you're alone when you create something. When you want to create something, you're just completely alone within that world, that creation.
それをベアトが無限に膨らませる。園児はそれを受け継ぎ語り広げる魔女の使徒だった。
Which is impossible.
マリアージュ・ソルシエルか。
1と無限は大きく違う。だからベアトは偉い。でも無と有の前には1も無限も同じ有でしかない。私は世界で一番の魔女。世界で一番偉い造物主になることを約束されていた子。マリアージュ・ソルシエールはそんな私を温める卵の巣。私は後ろ宮マリア、神と共にあるマリア。
If we liken Maria's sense of identity to a universe, then this endless stream of words coming from her might be like the Big Bang. She spent so long tormented over how to interpret her lack of a father. Then by chance she saw a line in the Bible that looked like it secretly referred to her, and she finally formed an understanding for herself. The sad girl who had hated herself for being different from all of her classmates finally found a meaning for existence. At that moment, Maria's universe, which had once been nothingness, was born as a clump of ultra-hot, ultra-high-pressured energy. Then later on, she went into Wakajima, met the endless witch who called herself Beatrice, and the clump of energy exploded in a big bang, giving birth to their magical compendium. That was the universe known as Marie Solaire.
話が少し飛躍しすぎだ。順を追う。
いいよ。どこから？
自分は精霊の子だと解釈したお前が、そこから次第にオカルトに傾倒していくことは容易に理解できる。そこからだ。そんなお前がベアトリーチェとどこで出会い、どのように交流していったか。
それは本当にある日突然の唐突なこと。六軒島に住まうベアトリーチェという魔女に私は会ってみたかったの。同じ魔女として。
その頃にはもう自分が魔女という自覚があったのか。
あった。その頃には聖書とオカルトでは大人にも負けないくらいの知識があったから。だから私は魔法は使えずとも自分を魔女だと信じてた。ちょっと滑稽だね。だから私は魔女見習いなの。
いつベアトリーチェと出会った？
よくは覚えてない。でもその出会いはよく覚えてる。それはとてもとても唐突だった。
そなたが後ろ宮マリア。
It was so very sudden. I was just drinking some milk tea all alone in the Rose Garden Arbor. Mama said she had to talk about something important with Uncle Klaus, so she told me to go outside and play. Suddenly she was sitting right there. I didn't know anyone who spoke that way. I quickly realized that she was someone I didn't know at all.
あなたは誰？
会いたいと言ったのはそなただ。わらわの島に魔女が訪ねてくるから出迎えてやったというのに、そなたはわらわの名を問うというのか。
ベアトリーチェ。
いかにもわらわがベアトリーチェである。
確かに唐突だな。
とっても。魔女や精霊はいつだって私たちのそばにいる。彼らが姿を見せようとしないだけで。そして彼らが姿を見せたなら、それはあまりに唐突に、そして当たり前にそこにいる。私はそれをまさに知ったの。
そしてベアトリーチェと友達に。
彼女はママの用事が終わるまでずっと私とおしゃべりをしてくれた。魔法の話や魔女の話、マリアが精霊の子であることも。
その時のベアトリーチェの印象は。
こう言っては悪いけど、知識だけなら私が上だった。最初は彼女のことを大した魔女じゃないと見下しかけた。まあそれは私のうぬぼれ。魔法体験にはいろんなものがある。ましてや私のそれは独学。ベアトの魔法体験とは異なったから、私が一方的にそういう印象を持ってしまったんだろうね。すぐにそれを後悔して謝ることになるの。
謝る？ベアトリーチェが何かお前の尊敬を勝ち取ることをしてみせたのか。なるほど、魔法を見せたというわけか。
The old teacup. We moved to the beach and talked while sitting on a table under an umbrella.
なるほど。マリア、そなたは実に勤勉だ。その年で1000年の魔女のわらわにそれだけの講釈をできるとは実に尊敬に値する。して、そなたは何の魔法を使えるのか。
魔法？
そなたが魔女を語るならば、魔法の一つも見せられるであろうが。
I was stunned for a second. Of course, it should have been obvious. I was a child of the Holy Ghost, and since I'd studied so much of the occult, I was also a witch, not a human. Until that day, I'd been so sure of both those things. So when I was asked what sort of magic I'd use, it left me in a daze.
魔法を知り、語るに至ってようやく見習いよう。そして、それを魔法という形で実践できてこそ魔女というものではないか。
マリアはまだ魔女じゃないの？
よく学んでいる。そして類いまれな才能も感じる。そなたはやがてわらわなど足元にも及ばぬ偉大な魔女、あるいはそなたが言うように造物主の座にさえ上り詰めるだろう。しかしまだ幼く若い。そなたはそう見習いだ。魔女の見習いというところよ。
じゃあベアとは魔法を使うことができるの？
無論であるとも。魔法を使えずして魔女を名乗ることなどできぬ。
すごい。見せて、ベアとの魔法見せて。
Until this day, Maria had never doubted the magic-themed idea that she was the child of the Holy Ghost. However, no one had ever proven to her that occult phenomenon actually existed. Maria could create the universe all by herself. However, she wanted to share it with a second person so that she could believe in it even more strongly. Yeah.
かつてのわらわならば空に虹をかけ、それを七色のキャンディーに変えて自由にかじらせることもできた。しかし今のわらわは姿を保つことさえ満足にできぬほどに衰えている。
さっき聞いた。あの鎮守の社のせいで力が出せないって。
力を取り戻すには かなりの時間をかける。虹をキャンディーにしてやることは今はできぬ。しかしささやかな魔法にてその一端を見せることはできようぞ。
見たい。ベアとの魔法見たい。
よかろう。しかしそなたにも協力を求めねばならぬぞ。先ほども言った。いかにそなたが汚れなき魂を持とうとも、人間はもはや汚れ、魔法を拒む毒素に満ちている
聞いた。半魔法の毒素があるって聞いた。
Just simply close your eyes.
マリアの読んだ本には載ってなかった。だからそれを知ってるベアとはすごい。
Beatrice lifted up an empty teacup, then turned it around in front of Maria to show that there wasn't any tricks or strings.
伏せたカップにキャンディーが現れる
どうしてわかるの？ウィルはすごいね。魔女の使う魔法もわかるんだね。
魔女の魔法の基本だからな。
カップは何の仕掛けもない普通のカップだったよ。私は見たかった。本当の魔法を見たかった。
There was a thing Maria desired. To strengthen her belief that there was an occult side to her, she wanted to see the occult outside herself as well. That's why she agreed to help Beatrice with her magic. She didn't want her own toxic to ruin her chance of winning the miracles of magic.
よいぞ。さあ、そのカップを開けてみるがいい。
あ、キャンディーだ。キャンディーだ。
わらわからそなたへの挨拶代わりと新しき魔女との出会いと友情にそれを贈ろう。
This was a true miracle of magic. For the first time, I felt shame and embarrassment at my concept. I could feel that sense of omnipotence disappear. The idea that I was the child of the Holy Ghost and the most important special person in the world. Instead of a child of the Holy Ghost who can't actually do anything, I'd rather be a witch who can use magic. Ushiro Mira wants to become a witch, starting off as a witch apprentice. I was already fascinated by Bito.
マリアも本当の魔女になりたい。ベアとの弟子になりたい。
And just like that, she saw what she wanted to see. You know, once you have a fact in your head, you start to see the world in a different light. You want to believe in that one singular fact that, well, the reason Maria's truth is that why am I so different? Why do the other kids not like me? Why aren't I normal? And she found out through the Bible. Then it evolved into magic and witches. Because she just wanted to know the simple question of why am I different from the others? You know, just an answer, some type of answer at all.
謙遜を。そなたには十分な才能と日々の精進があるぞ。それにかつての力のあるわらわならともかくこの程度の魔法しか使えぬ衰えたわらわでは弟子を持つことなどできない。
マリアは魔女の弟子にはなれない？
うん。わらわの弟子にはできぬ。しかし友人にはできる。
Aw.
本
うん。わらわとそなたはこれより友人だ。これからも共に深き魔女の世界を語り合おうではないか。
当？ベア
いいや、それは土産にせよ。食べずにそなたの可愛らしいカバンに収めよ。
お家で食べる。
マリア、そのキャンディーは魔法で生み出されたもの。ゆえに脆い。そなたがわらわの存在をその毒素で否定したなら溶けて消えてしまう。
やだ。ベアトからもらった大切な魔法消えるの嫌だ。
ならばわらわという魔女に出会ったことを決して忘れてはならぬぞ。そなたにわらわとのささやかな約束を守るために、そなたがまたこの島へ来るときに再びわらわがそなたを迎えようぞ。
守る。約束って何？
まずはそうだな、家へ帰ったら手を洗う、うがいをする。めんどくさがってはならぬぞ。魔女見習いの立派な修行の一つであるぞ。
守る。毎日お家に帰ってきたら手を洗う、うがいをする。そうしたらまた会ってくれる？
約束しようぞ。そなたがわらわとの約束をきっちり守れたなら、そなたの体は清められ、わらわもさらに魔力を取り戻す。さすれば次に来るときはより素晴らしい魔法を見せようぞ。
約束守る。絶対。マリアはなる。ベアとの友達になって魔女見習いになる。
良き心がけであるぞ、後ろ宮マリア。そなたが早く一人前の魔女になってわらわの良き友人に成長してくれることを心
これが私の初めてのベアトリーチェとの出会いだったと思う。
That was a very sweet scene, and it's the fact that Maria was accepted for who she was by another person, you know? Because isn't that what we all want as just people, as humans, to be accepted for who we are, you know? How I can make a parallel to Kinzo. The reason why Kinzo felt so in love with Beatrice was because they were both in a same predicament. They had the same kind of background. They were both raised in very high-class families. Yet, even Beatrice, you know, discarded the status that came with Kinzo. I mean, she referred to him as Kinzo, not as Ushiro Mira, like everyone else in his unit did to him, because Beatrice saw him as a person, not as a status symbol, not as a witch boy. She saw him as a human being and accepted that part of him, you know? Same thing here. This, you know, Beatrice accepted Maria and indulged within her fantasy of magic, of witches, you know? Because it just goes back to that thing of we want to be accepted by the people around us. And, you know, it depends on the person. Maybe we change. Well, I mean, we all change. Everyone changes to fit into our group, right? But we still hold some of ourselves within us. We still believe in our own individual truths about the world. And we want we want to share in those. We want to share in those individual beliefs and those individual truths, and we want to be accepted for them. We just want to. I mean, we're social creatures. We just are. We want to be accepted for who we are, and it's kind of beautiful. I'm just gonna put this out here because it just supports my theory of, I've been saying this over and over again, that Shannon is Beatrice, and made a whole bunch of evidence back then. But I think the Beatrice Maria saw was Shannon dressed up as Beatrice. And the reason why I believe that is, first of all, that comment of, like, wash your hands when you get home and what's out of your mouth. It's kind of like teaching a child who, like, believes in, like, I don't know, like, if you wash the dishes, you get to play, like, 20 minutes of video games. You know, that type of strategy, right? Kind of like that. And also, in some part, Shannon wants to believe in magic as well. I mean, look at the beginning of episode 2. She saw, you know, Beatrice and wanted to believe in her and wanted to believe that the Blooch would, you know, safekeep her future with George, you know? In a way, Shannon also kind of believes in magic, and by dressing up as Beatrice, able to console Maria and able to kind of indulge in both of their fantasies of magic being real. So that's who I think Beatrice is, because it makes a lot of sense to me, since, you know, I'm still sticking to the theory that Shannon is Beatrice by this point.
そのもらった飴は家に帰ってもちゃんとあったか？
うん。でもその存在を少しだけ疑ったから飴は溶けかかっていた。
Yeah.
私は彼女を疑いかけたことを後悔したよ。もしもっと疑っていたら飴は消えてなくなっていたに違いない。
Yeah.
そしたら私は目の当たりにした魔法の奇跡の証拠を失うところだった。
飴が溶けていたのか？
飴というよりはキャラメルだったと思う。溶けかかってぐにゃぐにゃだった。
それは何月頃の話だ？
Summer.
詳しく覚えてない。でもミルクティーがアイスだったことは覚えてる。それが何？
Nothing.
何でもない。
Yeah.
ベアトリーチェに出会ったことはローザには話したのか？
うん。その日のお夕飯の時にみんなに話した。クラウスおじさんに笑われた。そしたら隣の席のママにその話は終わりにしなさいって怒られた。
隣の席？序列上お前の席はローザと隣り合わないはずだ。
親族会議じゃないもん。ママとマリアだけが訪ねた時の話。だからクラウスおじさん一家全員とママとマリアしかいない。席は詰めるから親族会議の時とはお席がちょっと違うの。
うん。お前の隣の席にローザだったんだな。
うん。それが何？
なんでもない。ベアトリーチェと六軒島以外で会ったことは？
ないよ。
Mm-hmm.
だってベアとは体が希薄で自由には動けないんだもの。
Once again, has to be somebody who's on the island all the time.
マリアの体に乗り移ってもいいよって言ったけど、島からは離れられないからできないって言ってた。
その後は六軒島へ行くたびに会っていたということか？
うん。私たちは大の仲良しになった。ベアトと話せば話すほどに 彼女は本当にすごい魔女だと思い知ったよ。彼女は会うたびにいつも素敵な魔法を見せてくれた。そして私とは異なる魔法体系を聞かせてくれて、二人で魔法の深淵を語り合ったよ。私は早く彼女の高みに登りたいと思った。ベアトのような魔女の域に達したいと願った。
ベアトリーチェを母親に紹介したことは？
ないよ。ママは毒素が強すぎるからまだ会えないって言ってた。大人はほとんどダメだって。みんな汚れてるから。
お前以外にベアトリーチェの姿を見ることができた者はいるのか？
最初は無理だった。魔力が弱いからね。毒素に少しでも近づくと体が壊れてしまうって。でも次第に魔力を蓄えてマリア以外の毒素の少ない人の前にも現れられるようになったよ。
Really?
それは誰だ？
あんまり多くない。使用人の一部の人だけだった。
Servants, huh?
具体的には？
今日いる使用人全員。大田さんは違うと思う。
Okay.
つまり源氏、シャノン、カノン、熊沢の4人ということだ。
あと南條先生も。
And Dr. Nanja? Apparently, they would sometimes come to visit Maria at Beatrice's witch tea parties. Of course, they had only come by for minor things like bringing some more tea. However, they were certainly aware of Beatrice and even talked with her. Huh.
使用人たちはベアトリーチェとはどう接していた？存在しないはずの客人だ。驚いたりはしないのか？
しないよ。だってベアトリーチェはお屋敷のもう一人の主だもの。
AKA someone they recognized. She said that the servants treated Beatrice as an honored guest, and sometimes they were permitted to witness new miracles of magic along with Maria.
つまり1986年の六軒島でベアトリーチェに実際に会えたのはゴーダを除く使用人4人とお前と南條の合計6人だけだったということか？
ベアトもそれ以外の人の前に現れるにはもっともっと魔力を蓄える必要があると言ってた。
つまりそれ以外の人間の前にもやがては姿を現すつもりだったわけか？
Okay, interesting.
すべての人間たちに自分を認めさせる日こそが自分の復活の日だって言ってた。
Acknowledge her, huh? Maria, the servants, and Nanja acknowledged her. She had probably appeared before new humans one by one, starting with those whose anti-magic toxin was weakest. Beatrice's game was to increase the number of humans who could recognize her, until she could make everyone on the island acknowledge her. Of that, there can be no doubt. In that case, the last person Beatrice needed to appear in front of would be Battler, the one said to have the strongest anti-magical power. Huh. Does this mean Beatrice thought Battler would be the hardest to convince? It seems true that Battler was one of Beatrice's goals. However, if we go with that chessboard thinking Battler loves so much, Beatrice is trying to make people acknowledge her existence. Therefore, you might say that she's a character who can't exist unless people acknowledge her. Battler reached this idea himself as soon as the first game. Yes, there's something different about the Beatrice of 1986. She's different from the Italian Beatrice and the Corridoran Beatrice, both of whom certainly did exist. The Beatrice of 1986, the one we're so familiar with in a mysterious way, yet who has no existence. What does it mean to kill this Beatrice who has no existence? The minimum number of people required to create the universe is 2. However, Maria said that even a single person could give birth to a universe. And yet Maria desired a second person. a second person to nurture the world she had given birth to alone. Because if it was born and not nurtured, it would die and disappear. Let's replace the word universe with Beatrice. The minimum number of people required to create Beatrice is 2. However, even a single person could give birth to her. And yet, that single person desired a second person to acknowledge the Beatrice created by the first person. That meaning with a second person is the scene Maria just described. The single person created Beatrice. Yeah, and selected Maria. Yep. We don't need Furudo Erika's heart was reasoning to know that the teacup magic was sleight of hand, yeah. Maria, believing in the story about the anti-magic toxin, would close her eyes whenever magic happened. Any sleight of hand would be possible when she had her eyes closed. The caramel Maria had been given as proof of her meeting with the witch had melted a little because Maria doubted. In a season where one was likely to put ice in their tea, it was only natural for a caramel left in the bag to melt, yeah. The usual mirror Maria, the girl who's too trusting will accept the story easily. Beatrice appeared first in front of this girl, who had, in the language of witches, very little of the anti-magic toxin. The creation of Beatrice could be thought of as an egg being laid. When a single person creates her, it's little more than a daydream. She's still inside the egg. If and only if a second person acknowledges her, the shell will crack and she'll appear. She'll only appear if a second person comes toward the egg. When Maria acknowledged Beatrice, she finally hatched and the chick was born. In that case, Marisa Ware, which nurtured Beatrice in her magical compendium, was like a nest. This is Beatrice, a woman with a dignified presence, who calls herself the Witch of Wokenjima and claims to have lived 1,000 years. That sounds less like the chick Beato, who appeared in the previous game, but more like Beato the Elder. So, did the maiden Maria had just recounted mark the birth of Beato the Elder? The egg itself had already been created by the first person. Between then and the meeting with Maria, it matured immensely inside its shell into a character with the dignified presence of 1,000 years. Then, when Maria acknowledged it, it hatched and the Witch of Wokenjima finally gained a form. Perhaps that moment marks the birth of the Beatrice in 1986. The younger chick Beato was born out of love for Battlewar. Since that birth hasn't yet occurred at this point in time, the birth of Beato the Elder and the existence of Beatrice at this moment must have nothing to do with Battlewar. Are you enjoying this reasoning, Berncastle? If you are, let's at least have some applause from these spectators. Great, thanks a bunch. God, I wish I had that. That'd be nice. Boost my confidence while making these videos.
マリアはベアトに魔法で叶えてほしい願いがたくさんあるの。
Interesting. That is an interesting question of Beatrice the Elder. Like, she's a kind of a monkey wrench into this whole thing. Since Chick Beatrice was born out of love for Battlewar, yet she hasn't been born yet, you know. But the Elder Beatrice and the Chick Beatrice need to combine in order to make Beatrice, as we saw at the end of last episode, right? Interesting.
だからベアトが復活するのに協力してるの。
願いとは何だ。
いっぱいある。内緒。
黒き魔女からママを守ってほしいか。
どうしてウィルは何でもわかるの？すごいよ。
魔女に願わねば取り戻せない世界だとお前は思っているのか。
うん。ママは大好き。優しい。 つまでも一緒にいたい。永遠に。
今度マリアージュ・ソルシエールについて聞きたい。どうした？
やだ。
Huh.
何？
私喉が渇いちゃったからジュース飲んでくる。またね。
Maria became suddenly formal, bowed her head, and left without waiting for a reply. Well, that's interesting. It was a very un-Maria-like thing to do. I see. So the game master has moved the piece. Apparently she's telling me to ask about something different. At some point, Leon had started chatting with the other family members. Jessica seemed to be getting irritated at having her butt pinched so much, and George was trying to calm her down. Jessica and George. Guess I'll hear their stories next. Compared to Maria, the anti-magic toxin is very strong in these two. At least in the beginning of the other games, they did acknowledge Beatrice. Maria showed me the point of view of one who believes. Now to hear from those who don't. Interesting.
Ah, さっきはその
I'm still thinking back to the chick Beatrice that was born out of love for Bador. Of when exactly she was created. I still think it was after, kind of, the whole scene of Bador talking to Shannon, right? I think Chick Beatrice was born there, right? That's what, at least what I'm thinking, at least. So.
次期当主様のせいでお見苦しいとこを見せちゃって。
あざになってねえか。あいつマジで容赦ね
え。I can already see some people being like, well, Void, Maria said that, one of the people that met with Beatrice was one of the servants. That included Shannon. But at the same time, can we really... Is Maria a really, stable narrator or a trustworthy narrator? I mean, for God's sake, she, believed because her candy melted. It was because of her dad within Beatrice. So I don't think Maria is totally 100% a reliable narrator. I'll just say that right now, at least.
ジェシカ、何か言ったかい？
何も何も。もう十分懲りたって。
Leon, who had apparently been chatting with the adult siblings, spun around with a smile and stared at Jessica. Looks like the older siblings firmly in control around her.
え。あいつ、その上地獄耳だな。ようやくリオンってやつが理解できてきた。
そうそうそうそう。昔から妙に勘が良くって。その上ほら、大人受けが妙にいいし。私は家でも学校でも比べられてる。
そういえばリオンは中学も高校も生徒会長だったね。バドミントンの部長もやってたよね。
Real A student, huh?
行く先々でリオンと比較されてひでえ目にあったというわけだ。
私は中学に入って行ったぜ。その時はもう副会長やってた。来年は生徒会長になる気だろう。私の肩身が狭くなるからやめてくれって。でも翌年にちゃっかり立候補して当選しちゃいやがった。高校でもそう。今度こそやめてくれって言ったのに、その時点でもまた副会長で、また3年になるのと同時に会長になりやがった。父さんはちやほやちやほや。 母さんはあなたも妹として恥ずかしくないよ頑張りなさいってチクチクチクチク。
でもそんなリオンの妹であることを誇りにも思ってるんでしょ。
別にそんなこと思ったことはねえぜ。ああねえぜ、全然ねえぜ。
上が完璧だと息も詰まら。だが他人は他人、お前はお前だ。何も萎縮することはない。お前のしたいように精一杯好きにしたらいい。
もちろん。でも母さんたちは後ろ宮リオンの妹として恥ずかしくないよ後を引き継げってうるさい。生徒会に入れだの、バドミントンやれだの。
軽音楽はやっていないのか。
それは秘密ないっしょ。
Apparently, she's keeping this secret from her family. Interesting. People tend to blame things on their family and how they were raised. But this Jessica girl always likes doing the same thing, even in a different world and a different family. It's admirable that she has such a true and constant interest in something.
俺は好きだぞ。ペッタンペッタンとかスイーツスイーツとか。
Nothing wrong with the extraordinary accomplished sort like Leon, but kids who act their age do have their charms.
そういう生き方が一番だ。
I mean, really dressing up as fucking, God damn it, I forgot her name from fucking Toho. Goddamn witch girl with yellow, yellow hair.
謳歌しろ、青春を。
そりゃどうも。
Apparently no one had ever told Jessica that they approved of how she lived. And the direct way Will had put it made her turn red and hang her head in embarrassment.
今度はお前たちに話が聞きたい。
さっきマリアちゃんとしていた？
そうだ。ベアトリーチェについて知っていることを聞きたい。
マリアちゃんはオカルトや魔女のことが大好きだからね。彼女にとってベアトリーチェはアニメのヒロインと同じ憧れの存在なんだよ。何か些細なことがあるたびにそれを魔女の魔法によるいたずらだと信じてる。
お前は大人だな。そしてそうは思ってもマリアには絶対に言わないところも大人だ。
Yeah.
当然さ。子供の夢は子供の時にしか見られない。その貴重な経験を尊重するのが大人の仕事だと思ってるよ。
お前とは話が合いそうだ。
George's position was that Beatrice is nothing more than a fairy tale. However, that phrase, respecting a child's dreams, is the adult thing to do, that might be worthy of further scrutiny. When she got candy from Beatrice by magic, Maria probably got excited and told George and the others. Then the adults followed his lead and actively supported that story as adults should. However, we could conceive of a similar situation coming up besides an adult interacting with a child. For example, what about a subordinate interacting with a superior? If Kinzo, tyrant of the Ushiro family, claimed that Beatrice existed and had revived, perhaps the other members of the family would actively support that story as his subordinate should. Though Beatrice only appeared directly in front of a limited number of people, it's probably safe to say that the concept of her existence penetrated deeply within the Ushiro family, even among those who had never seen her. However, no matter how deeply that concept penetrated, she was only viewed as a sort of fairy tale character. It would be necessary to transform the concept of that character from an imaginary fairy tale into reality. So a person attempting to do this would need to perform acts that no one could explain without magic. These acts were the rich incidents, starting with the window opening pranks played by Bito the Elder, and ending with the closed room murders. Bito the Elder talked about this, saying that the anti-magic power filling the mansion would be weakened bit by bit the more she made her existence known. Beatrice. why were you willing to go so far as to make everyone besides you accept your existence? Because that fiction will become the truth if everyone acknowledges it. Because at that moment, the being called Beatrice will be acknowledged and will become human. In that case, until Beatrice is acknowledged by all people, she's less than human. She's furniture. Why would furniture want to become human? I seem to remember this being a theme in the previous game. It's because they want to gain a right. Furniture cannot. So, they try to become human because they want the right to love. Love. L-O-V-E. 4 fucking letters. Love. Yeah. Furniture cannot love. It's extremely simple. After all, it's directly connected to the reason Chickpeter was born in the first place.
なるほどな。分かってはいるが複雑だ。
To love, indeed. Yeah, you can't neglect the heart.
ベアトリーチェの葬儀に参加しておいてこんなことを言うのも申し訳ないけれど、僕も説明できるほどベアトリーチェという人物のことに詳しくないんです。申し訳ない。その話はここに住んでるジェシカちゃんの方が僕よりももう少しは詳しいかもしれない。そういえばジェシカちゃん、こちらの方を紹介したっけ？
いや、実はまだ。お客様がいらっしゃるってのに尻ばっかつねるどっかの誰かのせいできちんと挨拶もできなかったぜ。
A bit late, Jessica looked embarrassed, acting weirdly in front of an unfamiliar guest. She cleared her throat and made a beautiful bow that didn't fit well with her normal attitude. She even lifted the corners of her skirt in a curtsy.
はじめまして、ジェシカと申します。本日は後宮家へようこそ。いや、そのお日柄もよく、
ウィラードだ。ウィルと呼べ。
Jessica's greeting had been of the old-fashioned sort, so Will also treated her like an old-fashioned lady, bending down on one knee, taking Jessica's right hand and kissing it. Damn. Not expecting her greeting to be returned in such an old-fashioned and formal way, Jessica turned red and was unable to speak. However, Will had returned the greeting in what he thought was a perfectly serious way. So, he didn't understand what was making Jessica's face glow.
何かおかしいことをしたか？
いや、その全然。
お前の知っているベアトリーチェの話が聞きたい。
A sparkle leaked around the edges of Will's right hand, which was grasping Jessica's hand. Oh shit, here we go. Interesting. Looks like the feeder-going power is having its effect on Jessica. Didn't mean for that to happen. Oh well.
ベアトリーチェのことだっけ？話してもいいけど、いや、絶対に笑わないって。今にして思うと、きっと寝ぼけてたんだと思うから。
Okay.
お前は何を知っている？笑わない。聞かせろ。
いいよ。どこから話そうかな。
Let's see. To me, the Golden Witch Beatrice is sort of like one of the 7 mysteries of the Ushiro family. You've heard of those, right? Almost all schools have a set of tall tales or ghost stories that get passed down. Like, on some days, the piano in the music room will start playing by itself, or the skeleton in the science room dances around at night. Everyone's heard of them, but of course that doesn't mean they believe in them. The stories about Beatrice were the same. That was just one of those strange tales about our way too big mansion. The servants would sometimes talk about seeing things during their night patrols. Sometimes I felt a bit annoyed about them turning my home into a place for ghost stories, but I didn't pay it any more attention than that. That's how little it mattered to me. So during my normal everyday life, I would completely forget about the name Beatrice. Of course, when that huge portrait was first hung, it definitely felt creepy. Even I tried not to beat her eyes after dark. So it's no surprise that the servants found it eerie. But it only lasted for a short while. Well, we all walked by the portrait every day. We gradually got used to it and eventually bored of it. I didn't really care anymore about the portrait of the mistress from Grandfather's Delusions.
だろうな。年に何度も来ない親戚連中ならともかく。
そういうこと。だから親族会議になると親戚たちが必ず肖像画の前で決まってベアトリーチェの話をする。だから定期的に思い出させられるのさ。
ベアトリーチェ、また遊びに来たよ。また新しい魔法を書いたの。後で見てね。
マリアちゃんは本当にベアトリーチェが好きだな。おじいさまが肖像画を掲げて以来大喜びみたいだ。
あれ、エンジャは？
キリエおばさんと薬を飲みに戻ったよ。
エンジャは本当に体が弱えな。バートラとは大違いだぜ。
緊張すると体調を崩すタイプなんだよ。僕も昔は遠足の日や映画の日なんかに限って体調を崩したりしたもんさ。
それに比べたらマリアはタフだぜ。新島からこっちに来るまでの間ずっとベアトリーチェの話三昧さ。ここしばらくずっとだけどちょっと行き過ぎだよな。
いいんじゃないかな。子供の想像遊びだよ。ジェシカちゃんは子供がサンタクロースに会ったことがあるって言い出したら嘘だって言っちゃうのかい？
まあそこまでは言わねえけどさ。
Maria kept talking to the portrait as though it was an old friend. She promised to play with it later as if she was talking to a living human. George, a man, seemed to think that this behavior from a younger member of the opposite sex was cute. But to be perfectly frank, Jessica, who was the same sex as Maria, found this behavior a bit unpleasant, though she realized that she was dealing with a younger girl. At one time, even I was fascinated by anime, heroines, and other fictional characters. However, Maria's behavior seems to signify something more direct than mere fascination. It's something more definite, more vivid. Am I the only one who notices something odd about her? I'll bet all of the others notice too, but try to ignore it because of that adult dignity George Nissan is always talking about. Like actually meaning her, yeah. So did Jessica see her?
申し訳ないね、諸君。当主様は高尚な研究で大変お忙しい。昼は書斎で取られると仰せだ。
Until a second ago, Kinzo's children had been complaining about eating lunch where their father would give them indigestion. But now that they knew he wasn't coming, they started grumbling about how he should at least spare the time to come down during the annual family conferences.
それでは皆様、ランチを始めさせていただきます。遠方よりお集まりの皆様をおもてなしできるよう、この号だ。腕によりをかけてご用意させていただきました。
No one's stomach would fare to rumble after hearing that from the great chef Goda. By the time the splendid dishes were weighed out, everyone had stopped talking about Kinzo's absence. It was now Angie's absence that was being discussed. Apparently, her stomach ache had gotten so bad that both she and Kyrie couldn't make it to lunch.
かわいそうに。ゴーダ、後でキリエさんに相談して、お粥のようなものを用意するように。
ああ、気を利かせてくれてありがとう。本当にすまねえな。どうも緊張に弱い子みたいでな。
幼いうちはそんなもんや。吐いたりしないだけ可愛いもんやで。
ジョージはよく吐いたわね。昔は本当に病弱だったのよ。ね
昔の話は許してよ。食事時にする話じゃないよ。
エンジェかわいそう。こんな美味しいご飯なのに食べられない？
かわいそうにな。元気になったらその分いっぱい遊んであげようぜ。
ダメ。マリアとは遊べない。
Oh.
なんだよ。
Okay. So in the timeline, this is after Angie insulted, Maurice were not existing to Maria. Okay.
どうして？
だってマリアはベアトリーチェと遊ぶんだもん。だからエンジェとは遊べない。
ベアトリーチェと遊ぶって、またどっかに一人で行ってぶつくさ独り言言いながら本を読んでるだけだろ。
Jessica slightly regretted that she had been more tactful. However, she can wipe away that uncomfortable feeling she got every time Maria talked about Beatrice, and that feeling swept out for her words.
一人じゃないよ。ベアとも一緒だもん。
Maria may be young, but she does know how to read a person's tone. She immediately burst out in her anger, drawing the attention of everyone in the room. Normally, Rosa would have stopped her at this point. However, she happened to have gone to the bathroom at that moment, so there was no one to calm Maria down.
ジェシカはかわいそうだね。毒素の塊だもの。ベアとはまだまだ魔力が弱いから、ジェシカの前になんか現れたら焼き散らされてしまう。でもね、いつかきっとジェシカの前にも現れてくれるよ。誰の前にも。そして黄金鏡の扉を開いてもらうの。でも招かれるかわからないね。
Pure in front of everyone.
だけどマリアだけは連れて行ってもらえるの、黄金鏡に。でもジェシカはダメだよ。ジェシカはダメ。ベアトリーチェのことをバカにする無知猛昧愚昧曖昧、愚かも極まれりの汚らしい毒素まみれの人間風情。
ベアトリーチェのことをバカにされた時のマリアと来たらまるで別人さ。
Yep.
マリア二重人格説なんてのもあったな。
二重人格。ああ、そいつは多分ぴったりな表現だろうな。あるいはそれがマリアにとっての理想の人格だったのかもしれない。
自分のなりたいもう一人の自分を生み出すの話か。
Good old-fashioned persona, or maybe id, super ego.
なんで私のモットーを知ってんだよ。
難しく考えるな。頭痛になら。
Just get a headache, true. It was something Jessica once told Canon. She had been talking about how anyone can create another self in the image of the person they want to be. I think we heard those words somewhere near the beginning of the second game. Now that I think about it, some very interesting stuff's been mentioned since very early on. Yeah? Yeah.
誰だって自分が本当になりたい自分があるんだ。
A self, indeed.
でもなれない。生活やしがらみの中に今の自分がいるからこそ、今の自分を変えるなんてことできやしないんだ。
When we go to that, and once again we go into that kind of other theme of self, of becoming the most idealized version of yourself, which is kind of connected with multiple personalities, and trying to create the best version of yourself, which I feel like connects once again back to Shannon about how she wanted to create the Beatrice persona so she could love Bador. Because remember that scene? We remember that goddamn scene of young Bador saying he likes wooed women with blonde hair and big boobs. Remember that. Remember that. That's super fucking important. Especially the big boobs part, alright? Remember that. But no, seriously. We're going back to that theme of creating the ideal self and trying to break away from the current self that is unable to love, aka furniture, right? To create a different persona. It's all just piece by piece, just connecting.
そうだな。自分を変えるとは環境も変えるということだ。それは容易なことじゃね。
だから私は今の自分はそのままに、本当になりたい自分をもう一人生み出すことを思いついたんだ。
両家のお嬢様であることを強いられ窒息しそうな日々に、お前はなりたい自分を見出した。
だからって家で破天荒はできないさ。母さんに怒鳴られるのがオチだぜ。だからそうした。家にいるおとなしく親の言うことを聞く私に加え、本当になりたい私をもう一人生み出したんだ。
家ではおとなしく親の言うことを聞き、表ではやりたいようにやる。正しい生き様だ。胸を張れ。
Work and wife, two different people.
ありがとう。まあつまりなりたい自分ってのはその気になりゃ案外作り出せるもんなんだよな。
Once again, I can connect this back to Kinzo, Maria, and hell, even George. They all were trapped. Kinzo was trapped as a tool for the family until he met Beatrice. Maria was worried about why she was different from everybody else until she met Beatrice. George was angry at himself, angry at not getting able to have a girlfriend at all, right? He was angry at that. He wanted a girlfriend. He wanted that. He wanted that so fucking bad until eventually he fell in love with Shannon to fulfill that need. A servant. You know, furniture. Then we have Jessica, who also tried to escape the status of being this next successor for the family head. Therefore, she created an out for herself, a second version of herself, you know, that was part of a singer for a band, and fell in love with Cannon, who is also a servant, aka Shannon, aka Beatrice. It's all fucking connecting, man. Dude.
マリアも同じなんだろうと思った。
Cages within cages. The golden land where everyone can love, where everyone can be their ideal self. Son of a bitch. Is that what the golden land is? Become the most ideal version of yourself? To be able to truly love? To be able to freely be accepted for who you are as a person, regardless of status, be it human or furniture?
興奮してまくし立てるマリアもそうだというのか。
あれこそがマリアのなりたいマリアなんじゃないかなって、そう思うことがあるよ。
Yeah.
親族で一番の年少で可愛がられてはいるが、尊敬されているわけではない。
何を知っても覚えても、そんなのは親族の誰かが知ってる。マリアに威張れることは何もない。私たちはマリアが何かを覚えるたびに微笑ましく褒めてたつもりだけど、
But she knows.
ひょっとしたらそれが彼女を傷つけていたのかもしれない。
マリアは何かの権威になりたかったということか。
It's something that all young boys and girls think when they want to shake off their childhood. It's not a bad feeling you win something new and your parents praise you. But when you realize that your parents already knew that thing, it sometimes feels like they're talking down to you. When a kid learns their one-digit times table, their parents will probably praise them. However, inconsiderate parents will sometimes ask me questions like, then what is 11 times 11? Or what is 16 times 16? Or something similar. If that happens, the kid will lose his feeling of accomplishment and will start to feel as though he can never surpass his parents.
だからマリアが誰も知らないオカルトに関心を持ち、その知識を深めていったのは容易に想像できる。多分マリアにとっての理想の自分というのは、みんなに尊敬されるオカルトの権威の自分なんだ。
Once again, to be accepted. Now I'm thinking back to present day Kinzo. I guess 1985 Kinzo or whatever, when he's completely involved in the occult. I think the reason why he went into such mad is, besides the fact of, both his wife and daughter dying and him falling into that, is that he just never had anyone he could rely on. Besides, really, Genji and Nanjo. Those were the only two people he could reliably be accepted by. While the rest of his family were, in his own eyes, vultures just out for his inheritance. Just not caring who he was. Not caring about who Kinzo was. All they cared about was his status, about his money, about his gold, about his inheritance. His family, especially his kids, didn't give a damn about him. They just cared about his money, his inheritance. They really never tried, well, I mean, maybe they tried to help him, but maybe due to years of, psychological abuse by him, there was no reason to help him in his old age as he dove deeper and deeper into the occult. And because nobody tried to break him out of that spell, that madness, to make him move on from Beatrice, not even his own wife, who, well, he never loved in the first place anyway, there was no one else to make him feel alive besides Beatrice. Not a single other person. Because not a single other person accepted him. That's what I think. That's how I'm interpreting this story. This story is about acceptance of who you are, of who you truly are, not the mask you put on for the world, not your status, not your, your whatever thing affects you, like Maria, who's probably autistic or just an indeterminate mental, illness, to be accepted for who you are, not the labels put on by other people or by society, but to be truly accepted we're getting really close to the end here. This is the penultimate episode, so I feel like we are really getting into the main message of what the hell all this means in it. And I feel like I'm getting there. I'm getting there here, like finally, like what the main message is. Because there's many messages you can take away from Umineko, but I feel like we're getting to like the thesis statement of this.
普段の生活でオカルトの話ばかりしていたらローザにぶたれるからな。お前がそうであるように普段はもう一人の自分を隠していると
Exactly.
いうわけだ。
Because Rosa couldn't accept that side of Maria, she had to, in a way, hide it away, and only be able to bring out her true self in front of Beatrice.
私はこんな時のマリアをそうだと思ってる。いや、本当の自分が普段の自分を塗りつぶしてしまったと言うべきかな。私もそういうのをちょっと覚えが。真相の霊場に憧れて病弱な自分になれたらいいなと思って咳する真似ばっかしてたら悪い癖になって。
正規込みは周りが優しくしてくれるからだ。
いや嫌な話の流れになった時とか空気悪い時とかに流れを断ち切れるし。
なるほど。それもまたお前のなりたいもう一人の自分なんだな。
この話は内緒で頼むぜ。
Then, just what is Maria's other self? An authority on the occult who can out-argue even adults? Or else, does it have to do with her relationship with witches? Either way, denying Beatrice in front of Maria is cruelly taboo. In her search for something more than her everyday life, Maria found it in Beatrice and inside herself. In that case, is going to the Golden Land with Beatrice Maria's wish?
話が脱線したか。まあそんな感じでローザおばさんが戻ってくるまでマリアは癇癪を起こしちゃって。よせばいいのに私も売り言葉に買い言葉で返しちゃって。
ベアトリーチェなどいるわけないと。
そんなとこいるもんなら合わせてみろよって。マリアが大泣きしだした頃にはさすがに失言が過ぎたかと後悔もしたぜ。
それで
親族会議自体は私が一方的にマリアに対しギスギスして終わり。マリアはケロリとしてたよ。一人でどこかに行ってまたベアトリーチェと一緒に遊んでたうんぬんと楽しそうに語ってたから。私を含め誰も頭ごなしに否定したりなんかしない。もうそういうものなんだと思って聞き流して無視してるってのが正解さ。
親族会議の話はそれで終わりなのか。
この話自体はね、私がしたいのはこれが終わって親族がみんな帰ってからの話さ。
Even after the conference ended, I still felt a bit uncomfortable. If Maria had just stayed mad, we would have made up with each other and I could have put it all behind me. But since Maria got over it, it felt like I was the only one unsatisfied.
おやお嬢様、どうなさいましたか？お暗い顔をして。
ああ、熊沢さんか。いや別に大したことは。親族のみんなは無事に帰ったかな。
時間通りならもう新島の空港に着かれているでしょう。お嬢様もお疲れ様でございました。
私は何もしてねえぜ。使用人のみんなも本当にお疲れ様。
昨日のマリア様との喧嘩をまだ気にしておられるのですか？
まあね。
子供の言うことではありませんか。お嬢様ももう高校生なのですから、深く気にすることもないでしょうに。
熊沢さんはマリアのあれ、子供の言うただのザレ言だと思ってる？
ベアトリーチェ様のお話でございますか？
熊沢さんもベアトリーチェ様と来たもんだ。
Beatrice is the name of grandfather's mistress, the person he's still infatuated with. They realize that, as a servant, Kurosawa-san can't speak of her indiscreetly. Still, that's now become the name of the fictitious witch who lives in this mansion. It's almost natural for people to call her Sama.
ベアトリーチェなんて私たちが森へ行かないよう大人がでっち上げた階段だぜ。それをいつの間にかマリアが面白がって本当にいるかのように振る舞い出しやがった。
そんなことを言っては罰が当たりますよ。ベアトリーチェ様はいるのですから。
だからさ、そういうのダメなんだよ、生理的に。ジョージ兄さんの話じゃねえけどさ、サンタなんかいるわけねえとまで騒ぎはしねえぜ。だからってサンタが本当にいるわけじゃねえ。
それは間違いですよ、お嬢様。
間違い？
はい。万物八百万には神様が宿っておられます。同じようにこの島、このお屋敷にはベアトリーチェ様が宿っておられるのです。神様と同じくベアトリーチェ様も敬っていれば何も害はなしません。お嬢様の言うようにいないも同然でしょう。しかし敬いを忘れれば必ずや罰が当たります。これは何もベアトリーチェ様に限ったことではないのですよ。
罰が当たるなんて上等じゃねえか。会えるもんなら会ってみてえぜ。
お嬢様、そんな罰当たりではいけませんよ。
お嬢様、
本日はお疲れ様でございました。
シャノンにゴーダさんさ、ベアトリーチェの話は知ってるよな？
まあ存じているといえば存じておりますが、それが何か。
The two looked at each other. They looked like a pair who had just heard a clueless person suddenly utter a forbidden word.
ぶっちゃけ聞くぜ。いるの？そんなお化け。
いるかいないかと言われればそれはいないでしょうが、多分。
Probably, huh?
私はきっといらっしゃると思います。
どうしているって？会ったことあるの？
直接会ったことがあるわけじゃありませんけど。
Directly. Shannon spoke in detail of how she sometimes feel a strange presence or see a silhouette while doing the midnight rounds. And each time she started, Jessica would immediately cut her off. She must have seemed long have been mistaken.
ゴーダさんだって会ったことあるわけじゃないだろ？
もちろんですとも。しかし、まあ。
He was being very evasive. Even a man as big as Godo was apparently unable to deny the existence of someone he'd never met. This really didn't sit well with Jessica. She was a resident of this mansion herself. They were acting as though someone else, someone she didn't know, was living here. Of course, she didn't like it.
ちょっと待った。今の話をもう一度。
と言いますと？
貴賓室の話ですか？
VIP room. Golden and Shannon had been recounting several ghost stories about Beatrice. One of these drew reactions from Jessica.
そうそう、今の貴賓室の話面白いぜ。
Golden and Shannon glanced at each other. After all, it had been a cool story to either of them.
貴賓室には午前2時に入ってはいけないですか？
Huh.
午前2時にはベアトリーチェ様が貴賓室にお戻りになるので
Too, huh?
近づいてはいけないですか？
そうそう、それそれ。面白いぜ。どの話もベアトリーチェらしきものを見たの聞いたのって体験談ばっかだけど、その話は違うぜ。
More like a warning.
午前2時に貴賓室に行けばベアトリーチェ様にお会いできるってわけだ。
それはどうでしょう。
お嬢様、ベアトリーチェ様を悪く言った使用人にはたたりがあると言われています。ましてや貴賓室はベアトリーチェ様のお部屋。
いくらお嬢様でもそれはおよしになられた方が。
貴賓室って今は鍵がかかってるんだっけ？鍵は
キーボックスにあったでしょうか。
多分源氏様がご自分の席にしまわれていると思います。
マスターキーでも開くんでしょ？貸してよ。
そういうわけには参りません。
お嬢様、好んで不吉な場所に近づくことはありません。
おいおい、人の家を勝手に不吉にするんじゃねえぜ。とにかく私は決めた。マスターキーが貸せないなら貴賓室の鍵はあるでしょ？貸して。
お嬢様。
To Jessica, the expressions worn by the pair felt more like the old omen than anything else did. In Jessica's eyes, the old omen thing wasn't the witch or the VIP room. It was them, Maria and the others who believed in witches. In the end, Jessica forced them to agree, and she made them bring her the key to the VIP room.
ベアトリーチェが本当に貴賓室に現れるかどうか肝試しをしたというわけか。
Like going into the bathroom and saying Bloody Mary 3 times.
そんなとこだぜ。しかし私は何を意地になってたんだろうな。年派もいかないマリアとの喧嘩を引きずってたに違いない。
Of course, however, it just had to be terrible on that particular night. To be honest, I sort of regretted sticking my nose into something so pointless. But I already said so much, and he would borrow the key from them. I couldn't just go to Shannon the next day, have her ask me how it went, and to answer, well, I gave up because it was too scary. That'd just be pathetic. Normally, I go to sleep long before 2 a.m. If Mom found me wandering the corridors at that time of night, she'd definitely yell at me. So I went in my room, staring at the hands of my clock as it ticked closer to 2. Outside, the rain was incredible and the wind strong. The swaying, rustling trees were particularly eerie. I complained to Shannon and Goda about making up ghost stories about my house, but I was starting to feel like those ghost stories might not be so impossible after all. The Ushiro Mirror mansion is huge. Honestly, I can't think of the entire mansion as my own house. As Mom says, the hallways to the Ushiro Mirror mansion should be treated like public roads. In other words, my own room is part of my home, but the hallways and the rooms I don't usually enter are outside. So while part of me felt that the VIP room's ghost story was ridiculous, another part of me was so creeped out that it kept frantically trying to convince itself that the first part of me was right. That's superstitions for you. Only 10 minutes left till 2. If I want to be inside the VIP room at 2, I need to get there before them.
行くか。悪いが私も意地だぜ。
Nothing's going to happen. I know that. It'd just be a stupid waste of time for a few minutes. I touched the doorknob to the door of my room and was startled by how impressively cold it was. As long as I stayed in this room, I could laugh off anything. After all, this was my room. But it wouldn't be like that in the hallway. That's outside my territory. Near the doorknob, the barrier between the two was ice cold. Idiot. Why are you so scared of me? You aren't taking Shannon's, Goda-san's, or maybe Kumasawa-san's gossip seriously, are you? I'll prove it. There's nothing strange in the VIP room. The corridor was only dimly lit. Before lights out time, the hallways were brighter. But to avoid wasting energy or something like that, we kept the lights to a minimum at night. So, even though I was inside my own house, it was very clearly the middle of the night here. If Mom found out that I was wandering around at a time like this to do a test of courage in the VIP room, which I'm not even supposed to go in, I'd get in lots of trouble. To make sure she didn't find out, I tried to hide my breathing and my footsteps. So the silence felt unbelievably loud. Even though it was so quiet, that eerie sound of the wind was noisy. Sounds of twigs rustling. The sound of some pillar in his own mansion creaking. Does that sound like a beak tapping against glass? Though it was so quiet, all of the little suspicious sounds made it seem noisy. Damn, I'm an idiot. Why couldn't I have bought a flashlight at least? A flashlight to use inside my own home? That's even more idiotic. I mumbled this to myself, hoping it would drown out the sound of the wind just a little. It's interesting. I know this is a very weird comparison to make to this, but this reminds me of, let's say you're playing Gmod, like Gary's mod, like single player GM construct, or really any map at all on Gmod, just all by yourself. You get this weird sense of there's something there with you, and it's very specifically the source engine. Like I don't feel that sense of dread with any other game. Hell, any other video game engine besides Source. That eerie feeling of there's someone watching me. There's something with me. And you know, I'm making the comparison to this because, like, even though Jessica knows that, you know, it's not believable, there's still a part of herself that, like, still wants to, like, believe in it. Same thing with Gary's mod. Like, if you're playing on a single-player map, of course you know for a fact there's nobody else there with you. But yet you still feel that unease, that dread feeling of someone watching you, you know? That's a whole, like, liminal space type, you know, attitude that a lot of people have popularized nowadays, but it's still just a very unique feeling to have. It's like a mix of one foot in reality while, like, one part of your brain, like, in reality while the other is thinking up of, you know, there still could be something out there watching you. Then I saw it. The door to the VIP room. This was the VIP room, the room for important guests. However, as far as I knew, it had never been used before. None of the guests who came to this mansion were important enough to be given use of this room. Though I'd been clutching that key the whole time, it didn't feel warm at all. It still ruthlessly and isolely tormented me. Or maybe that was a warning. If you go back to your comfortable room and hide in your bed, this night will pass like any other.
バカにすんじゃねえぜ。ここまで来て今さら引き下がれるかってんだ。
Even though the keys were seizing my hand, telling me to go back, it slipped into the keyhole quite easily. All that's left is to turn the knob, open it, and I'll be inside the VIP room. It's not like I've never been in there before. Long ago, I explored and played hide and seek all the time. And this room that I rarely entered seemed unusual and exciting. However, I got in trouble for going in and was told that this room was important, so one mustn't enter without reason. After that, they made a rule of locking up unused rooms, and I can't go in anymore. So it's probably been several years since I've gone to the VIP room. In fact, it might be more than 10 years since the last time. And the inside of the room has probably changed from how I remembered it. Come to think of it, even then I felt that there was something unsettling about it. Slowly, I pushed the door open. The door was white, and even after I let go of it, it kept opening by itself as though beckoning me in. Beyond it was a darkness as thick and heavy as ink. Even the dim light that peeked in from the corridor seemed bright in contrast. I stuck my head in, feeling about for the white switch next to the doorway. This was a horribly awkward and uncomfortable way to do it. All I really had to do was step inside and search for the search from there. Unwilling to take even a single step into the room, I timidly stuck with just my arm into the darkness and felt along the wall. Click. Huh. The switch, which was hardly ever used, felt stiff and lifeless. However, once the light turned on, the darkness vanished in an instant. And there, exactly as it had been, as if not a thing had changed in all those years, was the VIP room. The curtain and bed cover might have been slightly different, and maybe the chairs and the light had changed too. Still, if I had to put it into words, I'd call it the feel. The stiff, lifeless feel of this room hadn't changed. If I hang around here, someone might find me. I'd rather not have Mom find me here. They're wetting myself. And though I couldn't even bring myself to enter this room when the lights were out, I finally entered. As soon as I closed the door, I felt an oppressive, suffocating sensation. Alright, I shut myself up in the VIP room. Bring it, Beatrice. I looked around the room, but I couldn't see any clock. I'm not in the habit of wearing a watch around the house. Damn. Now I'm not sure what time it is. Still, I know there's only a few minutes left at most. I try to suppress my desire to use going to get a clock as an excuse to run away from this place. Even so, just standing around like this was boring. When I looked around again, searching for something to sit on, I found something strange. Something strange. What the fuck? Okay. Oh, hell no. Hell no. We ain't doing fucking dolls. No. Oh, fuck no. What the fuck is this? Dude, this is some Silent Hill type shit, bro. I haven't even played those games, but still, this is like... shit. Oh, fuck. It had been placed on the side table next to the bed. If this room had been used often, I'd have thought it was just one of the owner's personal belongings. But no one lived in this room. So this can't belong to the room's owner. It really did look like an offering. A small French doll was sitting on the side table. The doll's hair was gold. It was wearing a black dress. Just who managed to find this doll and where? There's no doubt that someone placed the doll here to symbolize Beatrice. Does that mean that this doll is supposed to be the owner of this room or something? And looking like an offering to that owner, there sat a small plate with several cookies and wrapped chocolates. Huh. It was all set out neatly, and there's no dust piled up on the doll. In other words, both the doll and the offering were taken care of on a regular basis by the servants. Kept in good condition along with the rest of the room. Taken care of? No, it's more than that. It looked like an offering. No, like some sort of worship. A prayer saying, "Please don't curse us." So even though the doll was nothing more than eerie enough by itself, visually, it was even more unnerving to imagine it being kept safe and worshipped in a place like this.
たたらないでくださいって柏手でも打つのかよ。
Jessica forced herself to walk away from the bizarre doll. She couldn't bring herself to sit on a bed that wasn't hers. Then again, she didn't really feel like sitting down in a chair either. She had lost any desire to sit on anything in this room. I wondered about aimlessly. Then peeked out the window through the gaps in the curtains to stare at the dark, rainy night. What the hell am I doing? Hanging about in the VIP room this way just because that fight with Maria is still eating at me? It's totally pointless. Beatrice. Just when did that strange witch start living in this mansion? Grandfather's always yelling about Beatrice. Since it's apparently the name of his dead mistress, people started talking about how her ghost must haunt this mansion. There's that kid's horror story about the witch in the forest, which might be a ghost story made by the adults to stop the kids from going in there. The portrait grandfather had hung in April was really striking. And there was also that weird epitaph. The creepy words in that, which sounded like some sort of ceremony of human sacrifices, made the name of Beatrice seem all the more unnerving. At some point, those stories mixed together, and now people say that the witch Beatrice exists. I don't believe in Beatrice, because I know she's just a fictional person made by the fusion of a few horror stories. The Beatrice who was grandfather's mistress probably did exist, but she wasn't a witch. The story of the witch of the forest was made up by the adults to prevent their kids from getting lost in the woods. But that was just a made-up story, not reality. In fact, I've heard that the adults here once scared the kids with short stories about wolves living in the forest. Apparently, the kids realized that wolves couldn't possibly be there, so it was changed to the witch. When the portrait was hung, that once vague character suddenly had a face, and people acted as though she had been around since long ago. That's right, it's all a ghost story someone made, a fiction. Maria calls Beatrice her best friend, and the servants worship her like a household shrine. I just don't get it, and it creeps me out. Oh shit. The sudden ring of the phone made me jump so hard I thought my heart would explode. There was a phone on the bedside table across from the one with the doll, and it was ringing noisily. However, I was only surprised by the first ring. By the time it had rung 3 times, I regained my cool enough to grumble about this being pranked on by someone trying to scare me. If I rush to pick it up, I'll probably hear someone laughing at me saying, "Were you scared?" I thought about ignoring it instead, but it kept on ringing insensibly. It's a pretty loud set to have going on and on this late at night. If Mom somehow manages to hear it from her room, I'm screwed.
Hey, 取るぜ。取ってやるぜ。ああ、驚いたとでもいやいいんだろ。
I decided to pick up the receiver. I'll just say that surprised me, hahaha. Maybe follow up with looks like Beatrice didn't show up after all. After all, this is my victory in a sense.
もしもし。
You like scary movies. Yeah.
ベアトリーチェ、こんにちは。
Did not expect that. Oh. Does Maria call it 2 for this room?
マリア?
I don't get it. Did I hear that wrong? Why would Maria be calling here?
もしもし?
この間は楽しいお歌を聞かせてくれてありがとう。だからお返しにマリアもベアトリーチェに歌うね。習った新しいお歌を歌うね。
The voice, the intonation, the manner of speech, all of it clearly belonged to Maria. But what's she talking about all by herself? Maria just kept on talking happily as I stood there, stunned and unable to interrupt. Eventually, Maria started singing an old, familiar kid song that even I knew. I don't get it.
マリア? もしもし? ちょっと待てよ。歌うのやめろよ。
Wait, is this the same song from episode 1?
何なんだよ。 味がわかんねえぜ。もしもし。
The voice and the lights, everything disappeared. In the pitch black, I couldn't see anything, couldn't tell what was happening. I don't get it. What's going on? What the fuck? What?
何今の。
Does being in darkness really slow us humans down so much? I know it's dark, but I really have absolutely no idea what just happened. What was that shuffling sound just now? I'm not sure, I can't explain it. I heard an incredibly slithering sound like someone crawling out of a bed. I didn't think I heard it. It wasn't that vague. I definitely heard it happen right next to me, clearly. However, there was no change to the bed. No one had been sleeping there in the first place, and the sheets were still perfectly straight. Someone had crawled out of the bed and had laughed in a creepy voice before leaving the room. That's what it felt like. Felt like? I'm here, and the bed's right there. I'm not only in the same room, I'm right next to it. So why am I so unsure about what happened just a few seconds ago? I gripped the receiver, which had gone completely silent, and waited there alone, unable to move in a quiet room that seemed exactly identical to the one I entered. Huh? What? If nothing's changed since the beginning, I can just pretend that the last minute or so didn't happen. And yet, if something has changed, that would prove that something really did happen.
なんだよ。なんでねえんだよ。
What go? Did it fall to the floor? No, it's not there. No matter where I look, from whatever angle, it's not there. The offering plate with the cookies and chocolate is still here, but the thing that we're being offered to, the doll is gone. Oh shit!
嘘だ。
Then what just happened? The Beatrice Sama doll supposed to have cackled out loud and left the room? No, that crawling sound was too loud to have been made by a doll. It was a noisy sort of sound, like a kid playing with a blanket and using it as a cape. Then what? Is that Beatrice Sama doll supposed to have turned into a human and then one cackling from the room?
嘘だ。
What the fuck? After that, nothing happened. The doll alone disappeared and nothing else changed. In a VIP room that had remained completely unchanged and was filled only with the sound of wind and rain, I stood there, too shocked to move.
人形は結局見つかったのか。
物陰からベッドの下まで探したさ。それこそ中に入り込んでまで。でも見つからなかった。
Huh, what the fuck?
一体あの部屋で何があったと考えてる。
ベアトリーチェ様のたたりなんて思いはしねえぜ。あるいは使用人の誰かのいたずらだったかもしれね
いたずら。
え。マリアの声はあらかじめカセットテープにでも取ってあって、それを午前2時ちょうどに電話して再生ボタンを押した。そしてほどほどのところで配電盤か何かで停電させた。それからあらかじめ貴賓室のどこかに隠れてた誰かが気持ち悪く笑いながら人形を持って出て行った。そう考えりゃ辻褄は合うぜ。
釈然とはしてないようだな。
そりゃそうだろう。だってこれが私を脅かすためのいたずらだとしたら大掛かりが過ぎるぜ。
They made Maria sing beforehand and recorded it. Then someone called the VIP room and played that recording. Then someone waited until exactly the right time and tripped the breaker for the VIP room. To turn off the power to the VIP room, you'd have to go to the basement. There's a switchboard booth down in the boiler room. There's no phone line down there, so you need a different person to play back Maria's tape. And you need another person to hide in the VIP room and cackle before leaving. And just how long would this last person have to hide in the VIP room beforehand? How long would they have to hide in the pitch black VIP room under the bed, for example, waiting to scare Jessica who might or might not even come?
魔女のたたりなんてあるわけもねえぜ。でもよ、人間のいたずらだと考えて、それだけ私を驚かせるためだけに何時間も暗闇で待ち構えてたって考える方が、私はよっぽど薄気味悪いぜ。
同感だな。いっそたたりの方がマシだ。そのことを後日使用人たちには聞いたのか？
聞いたってとぼけるに決まってるぜ。それに最低3人だぜ。あの日は源氏さんと郷田さんと熊沢さんとシャノンの4人が泊まってた。そのうちの3人があんな薄気味悪いいたずらに加担したってのか？わけわかんねえ。だから私は聞けなかった。
True, it had been a strange experience for her, but it wasn't something completely impossible for humans to do. Even so, it really must have been more unnerving to imagine a large number of people planning so carefully just to scare Jessica. It's no surprise that Jessica found this scarier than Beatrice's curse.
今でも使用人たちがお前をはめたと信じてるか？
いや、多分ビビっちまった私の勘違いなんだよ。きっと人形はどこかに転げ落ちて、私がたまたまそれを見つけられなかっただけなんだ。
すべて気のせいだったと言いたいのか？
人形が消えた以外何の変化も証拠もない。マリアにも後日聞いたけど、歌のことも電話のことも知らないと言われた。とぼけたのか本当に知らないのかはわからないけれど。
That fucking doll.
とにかくあの晩のあの出来事は私が確かにあったと言い張ってるだけで何も証明することができない。
Interesting.
皮肉だな。たとえお前が本当にベアトリーチェに会ったと言ってもそれを証明できないのと同じだ。
Just like the servants.
しばらくはショックだったけど、時間が経ってあれは臆病な私が落雷か何かで一瞬だけ停電したのにびっくりして、庭木の枝がちぎれてバサバサ落ちる音を誤解したんじゃないかなって思えるようになった。
笑い声は？
変な鳥の鳴き声とかとにかくそう聞こえてしまう何かの聞き間違いだったかもしれねえ。
Probably the same bird that squeaks away and lost.
私は強がってるだけで本当は信じられないくらい臆病だったんだ。だからあんなことがあったように誤解してしまったんだ。そう考えるようにしてあの晩のことを忘れようと自分に強く言い聞かせた。
すべては闇の中か。
Quite
人
literally.
間忘れようと思えば結構できるもんだよな。でも
Oh shit.
それを顔に出さないように努めてる。おしまい。私に話せるのはこの程度の話だけだぜ。情けない話だから誰にも内緒に。私がビビリだったって誰にも知られたくねえからな。
わかった。最後に一つだけ質問したい。
貴賓室のことで？
違う。食堂でのことだ。
Ah.
食堂？
お前の階段の直前の親族会議の日、食堂には親族全員が揃った。
ああ、当時はまだバトラは戻ってなかったけど、それ以外は全員いたよ。もちろんじい様は除くぜ。
演者は腹痛で空席だったな。
No.
それはお前の隣の席だな。
そうだぜ。
それはお前の右の席だったか。
そうだぜ。右の席だよ。それが何か？あれ？おかしいな。どうして右？
Wait, to the right. Would that be ascending?
十分だ。無理に考えるな。頭痛にならん。
Wait. If it's to the... Okay. If I remember correctly, because it's been a long time since we did the whole explanation for the dining room table. I think it was just like all the way in episode 1, right? But if I remember correctly, it goes in ascending order. Like, the person at the very end was, like, Natsui, right? Because no. The people at the very end was like Nanjo and Natsui, if I remember correctly. It goes from like spouses that aren't connected to the family to then the kids, then finally to the adults, and then at the end of the table would be Kinzo, right? If I'm remembering that correctly. So, yeah, that would be strange. If, you know, to the right of Jessica was Angie, that would make her higher above Jessica, who is the daughter of the, you know, successor. So why would Angie be higher up than her? Wouldn't she be much more, like, down the line since she's, or at least below Jessica, since she's, you know, the daughter of the second spouse of Rudolph.
どうしたんだいジェシカ？
Huh, that's interesting.
何を悩んでるんだい？
いや、右、左。
おかしなジェシカ。どうビル？ジョージ兄さんやジェシカに何か聞けました？
まずまずだ。ベアトリーチェの階段はなかなか面白かった。
階段？どんな話ですか？
午前2時の貴賓室にベアトリーチェの亡霊が現れるという話だ。なかなかおっかない話だったぞ。
初耳です。誰が言い出した話か知りませんけど、仮にも当主様の恩人を階段にしてしまうなんて失礼な話ですね。
模範解答だな。
何か？
リオンは碑文はわかるか？
碑文？何の話です？
ベアトリーチェの肖像画のところにある例の碑文だ。
すみません。何のことかさっぱり。
懐かしき故郷を貫く愛の
川。何ですかそれは？
お前の、いや、この世界には肖像画はあるのに碑文はねえのか？
玄関ホールに掲げられてるベアトリーチェの大きな肖像画は私だってもちろん知っています。しかし碑文の話はわかりません。
That's interesting.
何の話です？
面白い違い。
Yeah.
リオンはずっと六軒島で暮らしてきたな。
無論です。それが何か？
子供の頃、森には近づくなと脅されてたはずだ。
ええ。迷子になって危ないから決して近づくなと昔から。
Or to hide gold.
森には魔女が出ると。
魔女？何の話です？
黄金の魔女にして六軒島の夜の支配者ベアトリーチェ。
ベアトリーチェはおじい様の恩人です。それを魔女だか妖怪だかのように扱うのは 少々失礼かと思いますが。
魔女のベアトリーチェは知らないと。
黄金と共に潜水艦でやってきたベアトリーチェと隠し屋敷で育ったその娘の話は知っていますよ。
But you don't know the witch
あなたと
Beatrice?
一緒にさっき知ったではありませんか。それがいつ魔女になったんです？
なるほど、そうきたか。では森に入ると何が出ると脅された？
森には狼が住んでるから近寄るなと。
So they stuck to that story?
魔女でなく狼か。なるほどな。面白い。
私は面白くありません。何の話です？魔女って何のことですか？
こっちの話だ。最後にもう一つ聞きて。
Once again, just implying that this game board is made up of different fragments. Wow, sorry, Jessica is able to say like, oh, the legend of the witch of the forest, while Leon has no idea about it.
どうぞ。
親族会議の食堂でお前の右には誰が座ってる？
私の向かいは妹のジェシカ。
Cross.
その次の序列はエヴァおばさんの息子になります。
Okay.
だからジョージ兄さんですけれど、それが何か？
なるほどな。紛らわしく入り混じって。
Yeah.
だが面白い。
It's like mixing a bunch of different fragments into one, yet it just don't make no fucking sense.
私には全然さっぱりですが。
Okay. Interesting. It just goes to show you this is a world made up of different like timelines and such. Wait, just hastily. Here's the culprit. Oh shit. What hell of a chapter name?
分かったんですか？
Alright. But I feel like this is a good stopping. Oh wait, I forget that. Exit is just a screenshot. But anyway, I feel like this is a great stopping point right here, folks. We're really, it really does feel very like penultimate because we're going one by one with these characters. It feels like I feel like throughout this entire episode we're going to like talk to every single member of the family one by one for their input on Beatrice. We already got Kinzo, we already got Maria, we got George, and Jessica, and we're probably going to get the others. We're probably going to get the adults' view on it. Maybe. Perhaps. But it's very interesting. The doll aspect that's one thing I did not expect at all. Is that, and Maria on the phone as well. Probably singing the exact same song from episode 1 because it seemed just kind of familiar to me. But interesting. And it's very interesting that, once more, the memories of the individual pieces here are all jumbled up because, it's all kind of fucked up. Jessica's memories is different from Leon's memories and stuff like that. Probably going to expand more on it next episode as well. But yeah, once again, another great, just really like relaxing type thing. Like, I feel like what this episode's doing, it's not like dropping bombs on me. It's like confirming what I've suspected for a long time. That's what this episode is doing. It's confirming all of the suspicions I've had. Like Kinzo's backstory, or, Maria's kind of faith within witches and all that. It's basically just like confirming those suspicions I've had for a very long time, which I find great. I find that to be really great. It's probably episode 8 where shit is like, oh, we're gonna drop the final bombs on you. That type of thing. But I've been enjoying this episode so far. I like Will and I like Leon as well. But anyway, if you guys enjoy this type of content, hit that subscribe button. If you liked it, hit the like button. Like Thomas and put it down in the comments below. Check out Discord server we're in on my church. Check description below. Yeah, it's been Voidlego. I'll see you guys next time. See ya!